Welcome to All Home Care Matters, the show where we discuss all things home care, with discussions on important age-related matters and topics. Brought to you by Enriched Life Home Care Services, the #1 rated home care provider in Michigan by Top Rated Local.
Hello, and welcome back to All Home Care Matters. If this is your first time visiting us here at the show, we want to say thank you for taking time out to be with us today. We appreciate how valuable everyone's time is, and that's why we try and make each episode here at All Home Care Matters something that will hopefully matter to you. Today we have a special show where we are welcoming Paul Weiss, the president of Oasis Everywhere, along with 2 students from Oasis Everywhere, Carole and Barbra. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. We have some wonderful guests. We have Paul Weiss, who is the president of Oasis Everywhere, and we have Barbra and Carole, who are 2 active members of Oasis Everywhere. And we're going to be speaking to them today about their experiences taking classes with Oasis and what it's meant to them, as well as with Paul about how Oasis Everywhere came to be and what the mission of Oasis is. Paul, welcome to All Home Care Matters.
Thank you, Lance.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So, Paul, tell us about Oasis Everywhere.
So, Oasis Everywhere has been one of the elements of Oasis that has been a pivot during the pandemic. Oasis usually serves, and I'll talk about this a little later, older adults through a variety of means, all in person, prior to the pandemic, but we had to suspend all in-person activities, and we had been piloting and experimenting with sourcing content from all of our Oasis centers, physical locations around the country, through live streaming, but we had not launched a virtual center. When the pandemic hit and we closed all of our centers, we realized we needed to continue to deliver mission, and Oasis Everywhere was born from that as a live, interactive, virtual Oasis Education Center for people to take classes across a broad range of lifelong learning topics: exercise, habit change, current events, politics, foreign language, and just socially connect live and interactively.
So where did this Oasis Everywhere idea originate from?
We had wanted to develop a way to share content from all of our Oasis Center cities with each other so that people could enjoy content from Oasis cities all over the country. We were looking for funding to do this, but with the pandemic, it was really a call to action to bootstrap it, to set it up, and we launched it in early June without funding, just figuring out a way to do it.
So would you say the pandemic has been more helpful than anything, or has it provided you guys with the...
You know the old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. I would never describe this pandemic as helpful. What I would say is that I am really humbled by the talent of our team and our ability to come up with pivots to serve older adults, to still connect with them during a pandemic in which social isolation, which was already a challenge for older adults, was incredibly magnified by the social distancing of the pandemic.
Sure. When the pandemic came, you were not necessarily set up at that moment for that level of virtual learning. How were you able to get it implemented so quickly and make so many people aware of it the way you had?
So one of the areas of Oasis where we have the largest amount of proprietary program development is technology literacy. We are technology literacy educators. So we have already a technology department and a technology ed department. So we were able to set up a customer service desk to teach older adults how to Zoom, how to engage in e-commerce, and take in older adults who are late digital adopters. And I believe Barbra and Carole probably engaged with some of our help desk folks to help troubleshoot for them. And that's a talent and skill set we already had. We have had, we communicate a lot through a web presence. We had developed videos for technology literacy and other programs already. And we were already playing around with Zoom and live streaming over the last couple of years for multiple centers to share content. So we had taken little stabs and had certain elements of talent and expertise that blended together, helped us cobble together this virtual center with some alacrity. But this was a stumble and bumble process. What we launched in June is not the same Oasis Center we have now in March of 2021. We've really been developing the website, developing the infrastructure, developing the customer service infrastructure, and really learning which classes are the biggest hits online. And, our first month we enrolled, dozens of people, and now we have well over 1,500 unique individuals taking close to 5,000 enrollments per month. And we're growing at about a 10% rate. So we've learned a lot along the way.
So I can imagine with the pandemic, you have probably reached people who otherwise may not have been considering joining virtual learning classes. Are there any particular stories that really stand out to you that have really meant something or are more memorable?
Sure. I mean, there are several things that are memorable. First is, one of the things we learned is that older adults can master technology skills. One of the mythologies around older adulthood is that, you stop learning and technology is alienating. They can't learn skills. Not true. When we would intake a new population from a partner or a geographic area of older adults, there would be this initial spike in customer service support, but it would go down over time as they mastered skills. So one of the things we've learned is we've always believed that older adults are capable of lifelong learning in a very meaningful way and can master skills. This technology experiment really is a proof of concept of that. And we also know that older adults who engage in technology do it for all sorts of different reasons. A story that's really not about Oasis Everywhere, but it's an Oasis technology literacy story is a couple of years ago in Broward County, Florida. We had a partnership with the library system there. And one of the classes, they offer many Oasis Connections classes. They're a license holder for our content. One of the classes that was being taught was on Google Maps and Google Earth. So you could come in and learn how to use Google Maps and Google Earth as a way to both navigate your world, learn a little bit more about it, and not get lost on the way to a new place. And the instructor, it was a small class, the instructor noticed that one of the participants who was following along with the instructions was having a real emotional response. He was in tears. And this older adult had come to this class because he was a World War II veteran who had been a prisoner of war and had been put in a concentration camp. And he had never been able to get closure, revisit the experience, or really sort of explore it in any way. And it was a seminal experience to find the concentration camp grounds on which he was interred and freed from, and engage with it on this interactive Google Maps function and see where he had been a prisoner of war in World War II at a concentration camp with all the things that come with that. And the instructor made it a safe space. They talked about the power of the experience, and he continued with the coursework and really became an expert in this particular element of technology, this application, but also had this incredibly meaningful experience. So one of the things that we'll say about Oasis is, we serve older adults, and all of them have interesting stories and backgrounds that, are complicated and unpack in different ways and engage with us for different reasons. So one of the reasons why all Oasis Everywhere classes are live and interactive and they're not recorded is so we can have these live experiences where people have the opportunity for self-expression, because being seen, being heard is something that doesn't happen enough for older adults, and we want it to even happen with Oasis virtually.
Sure. What would you say is the number one, if there is a number one, most popular class through Oasis Everywhere?
Arts and humanities classes are by far the most popular. The second most popular is exercise. But the enthusiasm for dealing with everything from current events to history, music, film, study, it's none of it is what you would consider classic senior center type programming. It's really like a university for older adults with multiple areas of curriculum. And if you go to Oasis Everywhere class listings, you can search by content area, everything from arts and literature to art history to classic film. We have a lot of content across many content areas, so you can kind of find your own passion and channel it there.
I was looking at the one class that you guys are offering, Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention. I would think that would be a really important class for the more senior, students.
It's very popular.
Yeah.
And fall prevention is a key element of healthy aging. I mean, teaching people to balance, getting them, getting their core strength up, and getting them functionally moving in a way that avoids falls, because falls can be catastrophic for an older adult, and that's actually a big area of our health and fitness column of programming is fall prevention and other elements of chronic disease. So people live healthier lives longer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fun class. It usually has a waiting list.
Okay. So we have Barbra and Carole, who are two students from Oasis Everywhere. And I understand you two have developed a really close friendship as a result of Oasis Everywhere.
Yes.
So let's start with you, Carole. Why don't you share with us how you came to take classes with Oasis Everywhere?
Okay. We have the senior center from where I live in Tamarack, and it was introduced to come to Oasis, not really Oasis, tech, to learn how. I didn't know anything about computers, and I went there, and by being there, the first day I got there, Barbra was in the class, and right away we clashed. She feel that I know more than her in computers, so she was sitting next to me, and we start communicating, and that's how we become friends.
What was it that interests you in taking the classes with Oasis Everywhere? That would seem to some seniors it might be intimidating if they don't have any computer experience, and it could be a little overwhelming.
It was at the beginning for me. It was a little intimidating to start because I said, "Oh, I will never learn computer," and I was afraid to use the computer. So when I get to the class, by teaching me, and I learned, I got it right away. And we had a good instructor at the time who was really patient and taking care and telling us exactly what to do. So I learned it very quickly. But I always wanted to learn more about computers. And that's how I was interested in.
How many classes have you taken so far?
Oh, so far, I take about more than 30 something classes.
Wow. What's the next class you plan to take?
The next class, I think, is about women, about women's life.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you and Barbra get to see each other often, or do you just see each other in class? How does that work?
We see each other to Zoom. We communicate, and we see each other once a week. We make plans. We have lunch or breakfast. So we integrate. We talk almost every other day. We discuss the class that we took. And that's how it is.
So you said when you first met, Barbra thought she knew more about computers than you did.
No. Barbra thought I knew more than her.
That you knew more. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So was that kind of how your friendship started over that then?
That's how it started.
That's wonderful. How about you, Barbra? What brought you to Oasis Everywhere?
Well, it's true. We started in the computer class together. And I was over 70 years old and I didn't know how to turn on a computer. So when I got to class, there was this smart looking girl. She had glasses on. She was confident and everything. So I said, I'm sitting next to her, right? So we enjoyed learning together. And then she said to me, she said, I've got an insurance program and every week they're going to have a class. So then I thought, well, I'm tackling the computer. Maybe I can tackle this other insurance program. And from that, we took the insurance program, and then we heard about Oasis. And I was isolated by myself by then, and my dog had just died, and I wasn't doing much, and I didn't have a lot to look forward to. And so I thought I could do this little baby step by, starting off with Oasis and taking a class. And then you buy the ticket because you got to register and you got to pay your money. So now you bought the ticket, so you got to show up for the class. So I did, right? And I understood it. I mean, it wasn't so hard over my head. It wasn't, at the university level. And I believe in keeping something simple, stupid philosophy. And the more I understood, because it was simple, the more sophisticated I sounded, because I can now repeat to somebody else what I learned. So it kind of gave me confidence. And then talking with Carole, she's teaching me, I'm teaching her about the classes, and we both get smarter, even though we're not taking the class. The same class. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And there's so many unintentional consequences from Oasis, you wouldn't believe it.
What has been your favorite class so far?
For me?
For either one of you.
Oh, exercise everyday life. Yeah.
How about you, Barbara?
I enjoy that.
The Chi classes, learning about how not to fall,
Okay.
and practicing stuff, things that I'm engaged in, I like better than just sometimes sitting and hearing a lecture. But
Sure.
sometimes that's good too, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Just a nice balance between the two.
Yeah.
Which that's what I was kind of observing when I was reading through some of the syllabus and the classes that Oasis offers, is that, kind of like what you just mentioned, Barbara, if you're more in the mood of wanting to listen and learn, you can do that. But if you're also wanting to balance it with more physical exercise and activity, you can complement the two of them, which is really nice. It's kind of whatever you're in the mood for at that time, you can, take that class for. Now, the pandemic has been just terribly difficult for so many reasons. And being seniors, I'm sure that it was especially difficult. You're limited from your social circles and limited on what you can do and where you can even go. How would you say that being a part of Oasis has helped or benefited you during the pandemic?
Carole.
Oh, it helped a lot by Zooming, learning how to Zoom. And I communicate with my family, not only having the classes, but I communicate with the world. My kids are in New York. Most of the time I'm talking to them to the Zoom, which I didn't know anything about before. So
Another
it really
benefit of Oasis. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's wonderful. How about you, Barbara?
Well, it made me feel better, taking the classes, having something to look forward to, feeling happier, wanting to engage in more things. It just kind of builds on itself. For now, every day I'm not sad and stuff. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
What's the next class you're planning on taking, Barbara?
We got Sugar Blues coming up next week, and we've got I saw Women in Power a couple of weeks ago. That was very good. And some anatomy course and stuff that we're going to take.
Interesting. What, just out of curiosity, what's Sugar Blues about?
I don't know.
Miles Davis.
Okay. All right.
Jazz.
So like jazz music and things?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That's excellent. Have you guys met any other people that you've kind of brought into your friendship circle from Oasis Everywhere?
Yes. I have a couple.
The instructors are great. The people who work for Oasis are fabulous.
Yeah.
You can call them, you can ask questions, they're responsive. I actually feel like they're my friends.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Paul, have you do you get an opportunity to have a lot of interaction directly with the students from your position?
Well, being the president means you're functionally useless in actually doing anything in person. But oddly, I do, because I do some teaching. So my feelings are very hurt, Barbara and Carole. I'm teaching a course on next week on implicit and explicit age bias, and neither of you have signed up for it. So it's just.
Oi.
Yeah, no one searches for the course that has sort of that course is actually designed for third-year law students, but I teach it at Oasis now and then. So I do some teaching. I did a course with an author around his book Courageous Aging that was well received. And so I teach now and then. And when I could travel, which I haven't done in 2020, but I will start traveling again this April, I go to all of our Oasis Center cities. I go to our centers. I do presentations for our intergenerational literacy tutors. I try to meet as many of our volunteers as I can. So when I travel, I get to meet a lot of people. And it's the great joy of the job is the older adults we serve. I mean, one of the things I constantly tell people that don't really understand the complexity of engaging older adults is make no assumptions about any older adult you meet. Their backgrounds, their skill sets, their interests, what they're capable of, what they can accumulate in terms of new skills at an age that is often, which is why I teach the age bias class, is often seen as a time of decay or being static. Never make that assumption. We have older adults that are practically superpowered across our entire network, and it's really inspiring. I'm in my 50s, and I think working at Oasis really opens up the possibilities of what I'm going to be able to do with my life for the next 30 to 40 years.
That's right. So, Paul, when you guys are looking to put together these classes, kind of walk me through, if you would, briefly, what the decision-making process is like for that. Does somebody come to Oasis and say, hey, I'd love to offer this course for you? Or
we do a little bit of that. We also we do a lot of relationship building within each community we're in. And we seek out talent. We have Diane Rehm is going to be doing a class April 6th talking about her new book. She had a fabulous journey in public broadcasting and is really beloved by a lot of the audience that we serve, for whom she was a voice in their lives. We're doing one of the scientists involved with the Mars Explorer is going to be doing a class in April as well. And that was a relationship with an Oasis with this scientist who really teaches and is part of that Mars Explorer team. So we try to stay on current events. We try to bring back voices from the past. And you never know how you're going to source talent. I mean, I was a former swim coach and had brunch in St. Louis 2 years ago with one of the former athletes I coached when she was a little kid, and I met her husband, and then found out he was a film instructor at a local university, and that he loved some of the same films I loved, and that he loved films from an era I knew would be interesting to our audience. So now he's a faculty member with Oasis. So, I think and every single one of my colleagues, we are constantly meeting people and saying, oh, our audience would love what you're interested in. And then we rope them in. And so, a lot of it is through these extended social networks. And we have program committees at most of our centers where members who take classes also are involved in helping curate programs and building new instructor relationships. So it is really a network of Oasis leaders, Oasis staff, and Oasis volunteers and participants who help us curate our programs. Older adults know what they want, and they will tell you if you ask them.
Yes. So I'm going to ask each of you a quick question, and I want to hear what you would suggest to a person who is thinking about taking classes with Oasis Everywhere. What would be the one recommended tip or piece of advice that you would get or give to them? I'll start with you, Paul.
Don't be scared of technology. We have videos to teach you how to Zoom. We have a customer service email address and phone number. Call it and email us. A human being will talk to you and email with you and teach you and give you resources. We will handhold you through this, and you can ask the same question 5 times and no one will ever get aggravated. We are here to make you feel comfortable in this digital world. So don't be bashful.
Okay. How about you, Carole?
Well, I already introduced a couple. My niece, which just turned 60, she didn't know anything about computer. My sister, I told them it's a good thing because they're home, they're alone, they're not doing anything. So now they start taking classes. So I told them it's a good thing to do for themselves, to get out there, to learn about new things and meet people to the Zoom. So I'm already volunteer telling people what to get involved.
You're an ambassador.
Yes.
Okay. How about you, Barbara?
I think for me, ambivalence is the biggest problem with most people. And making change is good because then you have something to look forward to. And you just need a baby step just to register. You don't have to leave the house. You don't have to get dressed or anything like that. And just start thinking again and listening again, because it's going to make a world of difference for your brain and just excitement in life.
So when we host the show, we were going to be including the website. So if people that are listening or watching that are interested, they can go directly to the Oasis Everywhere website, as well as I know Oasis Everywhere has a YouTube channel, and there's information on the different courses that are offered, and we're going to be providing that for everybody. So I'm really, really a big supporter of this. I think it's something that our seniors definitely need to, take advantage of this opportunity, and, they can form these new friendships and, like you were saying, Carole, learn how to use the internet. And, thankfully, really, because of Oasis Everywhere, you were able to stay in touch with your family when the pandemic came, because you learned how to use Zoom. I think those are great stories, and, they just do tremendous things, and we never know the effect that something has on someone. Sometimes never, sometimes it's much later we learn about it. And I think the work that Oasis Everywhere is doing, and you guys and your active learning, and I applaud you all for that. I think that's tremendous. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
Well,
go ahead, Carole.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say Barbara is the talkative. She loves to talk. Let her say what she wants. Go ahead, Barbara.
Well, it's about technology and stuff. I've been so afraid of it, for 70 years. And people they walk you through it. And if you do it wrong, as Paul said, they will do it over and over again with you, and you don't have to worry that you're a dummy. I mean, I am a dummy, and they work with me anyway.
No, you are not.
Oh, thank you.
I tell you that all the time. You're not.
Well, anyway, don't be afraid of it just because, because it's something you don't know. It's very amazingly easy.
Yeah, what's the most amazing part, the most amazing thing we've learned of a pivot to digital delivery is that all the things we know from being technology literacy educators are practically true, meaning you can teach an older adult to use any piece of technology if you have patience, if you are thorough about the way you teach, and you make them feel really comfortable asking until they master. And so, our job is to own the result, which is no matter how we get there, we want the older adult to master skills and feel confident. And repetition helps, pace helps, and real enthusiasm about their learning outcome helps. And those are our values.
Yes.
Absolutely. Anything you want to add, Carole?
No, I said it's true. When he just said it's patient, the person on the other who's teaching have patience with us who want to learn and excel. My goal is to learn more about, and I'm trying to learn more about the computers.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you guys for your time today. Again, we want to say thank you to Paul, Carole, and Barbara for being here with us at All Home Care Matters and sharing the many benefits of Oasis Everywhere. If you'd like to learn more about Oasis Everywhere, please visit our show notes where we will provide links and information so that you can learn more and get in contact with Oasis Everywhere. Please join us next time on All Home Care Matters, where we will be discussing healthy nutrition for seniors. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to you joining us again on another episode of All Home Care Matters. To learn more about the show and to connect with us, visit us at allhomecarematters.com.